My name is Zach Waite, and for my action research project, I was looking at how integrating technology into reading curriculum could help improve student outcomes and my own teaching instruction. Typically, integrating technology is seen as something more for math and sciences, but I was interested to see how integrating technology into reading curriculum could increase student engagement. So the problem statement looking at was how can technology help increase student engagement and interest with reading comprehension. Student engagement is something teachers have always been trying to improve, especially with reading comprehension. And this is supported by a study by Margolin, where they examined how new delivery methods and new strategies could help address this problem within reading comprehension. And so the goal would be that the technology would create a more tailored instruction to individual needs, which would help create a situation where students feel like they're able to succeed and therefore try harder, which would engage them more. A study by Samaraku and their team supports that. And then another would be new modalities to show learning, so creating more assessment options for them. A study by DeCate showed that different assessment methods provided and yielded better results for student learning. And then finally, new mediums for delivering the content. So if we're able to deliver the content in a way that interests students, then they'll get excited and more interested and motivated to engage themselves in reading comprehension. So this was the ultimate goal of integrating technology within reading curriculum. And the literature on this supports a lot of this. So a lot of the literature supported that improved and adjusted instruction yielded better results. Increased individualized instruction was a lot of the goals with integrating technology, and then increased preference or interest. So all supporting the hopeful outcomes of integrating this technology or any technology into reading curriculum. And so of the three implementation plans, the first one, the goal was to improve student engagement and motivation towards reading comprehension by changing the instruction delivery method. So for an example of this would be giving half the group a fairy tale to read on a hard copy and the other an electronic copy. Both are trying to see perspectives and compare and contrast different text structures with the fairy tales, just the delivery method changing. Both would then end up writing a summary and analysis of the fairy tale structure afterwards. The second plan was to create a more tailored and rigorous intervention plan towards student individual needs. So this would be using a technology such as Lexia that is a goal-driven and natural progression through student learning as an intervention as opposed to hard copy intervention programs, and to see if they would yield better results for that individualized student's needs. And then finally, provide students with an alternate method of showing reading comprehension and understanding. And so for this, that would be along those lines of giving students a little bit more freedom and creativity to show their learning rather than the pen and paper traditional method, giving students the opportunity to use a program called Flipgrid, where they're able to create videos of their learning and then comment on each other's posts to hopefully encourage conversation and increase that student interest and engagement through the assessment methods. And so what the Flipgrid did was it allowed students that alternate method of showing, and ultimately that was the one I decided to try in my classroom instruction and implement. This Flipgrid allowed students to be more creative and use their imagination when trying to show that student learning as an alternate form of just that piece of paper, fill out the theme, and summarize it using traditional graphic organizers. The students were also given the theme passages through Google Classroom and electronic copy, where they were able to highlight and save their work on their one-to-one Chromebook devices. So as I was going through this and implementing this into my curriculum, what I learned was a couple things, which front load work at the beginning means the less work long term. I found that myself, I was doing more work at the beginning to get things on Google Classroom, get things set up on Flipgrid. However, once it was in place, it went smoothly. And ultimately, I was taking more of a backseat role as the students were doing their own work through this project. So more work up front, less work in the sense of the teacher's workload towards the end. And then also being patient with that technology and expectations. Looking back and reflecting, more time for the students to play with the technologies, to get comfortable with how to use it, and then make clear-cut expectations after that. After they learn how to play and do all the things, students definitely enjoy it, which was the goal, to increase interest, but then making sure we're using it for the purposes and desired outcome rather than more of a game or toy. And so the evaluation of this technology, I found a few things. The first being that student engagement was definitely increased. Students were much more motivated to create videos of themselves where they knew they could watch their peers, comment on their peers' posts. So it definitely increased student engagement and got them interested in the material that we were working with, which was a great side effect. And allows for more creativity and freedom, and then opportunity for students, increased student discussion. So the data collected through this was through student assessment scores. So normal criteria: did students meet the standards of identifying theme, summarizing the text? All the normal criteria for this learning standards were there to see if those scores improved. But further than that, it was I collected teacher observations of student engagement to see time spent during independent time if they were working on this project, and then as well student interviews after the project was done to see their opinions on whether what they liked and disliked about integrating technology and implementing this plan. So the data on the next screen will show that scores did improve. Student assessment through a different modality definitely is improved using technology. Then the other thing was my own observation. Students chose to work on this during independent time more than I've ever had a student want to work on a reading comprehension assignment. And then finally, the interviews afterwards showed that students did prefer and like being able to discuss, comment on their own peers' posts, get their own ideas out there as well, so they could do that back and forth, and then just the general freedom to show their learning instead of feeling like they have to show it a certain way that might not always agree or connect with them. And so here are the results. As I said, at our school district, 70% or higher is considered a passing score, a master of the skill. So I have a class of 29 students, all of fairly high socioeconomic status and technological literacy. And as I'm showing this here, there was only 3 students who scored below that mark, which is the highest I've ever had students score on this learning standard. So definitely we're seeing improved reading comprehension at least supported by these results. The strengths and limitations of this. So strengths, opportunity of this implementation plan, many variables were being able to test it, which was great. I could see student engagement, new modalities for assessment, continued conversation and increased discussion. And then the fact of having independent work, as I said, front load the work earlier, less work later, helped with time constraints because I could let the kids work on that on their time, which helped kind of keep it moving and stay on schedule and pace. The limitations of this, though, I was benefited by having, as I said, higher socioeconomic status where students have more technology literacy and comfortability with these devices, so the expectations didn't take as long. And then having one-to-one devices allowed me the opportunity to do this, which is great. Not all school districts have that opportunity, so if this was recreated in a different setting, lower technology literacy, or maybe not having one-to-one devices, it might not be as streamlined or find the same results as this research was drawn out more. And then moving forward, why this action research project should be used. It allows for a more directed study. What I found was I wasn't just trial and error, trying out things. It was more directed. I knew what I was looking for, and I could apply it to my specific situation, which made it much more applicable to direct feedback. It wasn't necessarily just a theory that I was trying, but actual practice, which is why it's much more beneficial, in my opinion, of what I'm working on. Much more time conscious. So I'm able to schedule it more on my schedule on what works, so I can actually get the results in when I need them. And then it just allows for more flexibility, because again, it's more specific than it is general in theory and on someone else's time schedule. And then these are the major sources that I used from the literature to help me drive this. Thanks.